Welcome everybody who's in the room for this final presentation of the day presented by Wendy Diltz. Thanks so much for joining us. If you attended any of the other talks today, really appreciate everybody's inputs on all the discussions so far. It's been really good and nice to see a lot of familiar names in the attendance lists. So we're excited to get going with this final presentation of the day today. I want to start by offering an acknowledgement of the land that we work on and live on. Craft Alliance serves people across Atlantic Canada, otherwise known as, originally known as the ancestral and unceded territories of the Mi'kmaq, Passamaquoddy, Wolastoqiyik, Beothuk, the Inuit of Nunatsiavut and Nunatukavut, and the Innu of Nitassinan. Craft Alliance supports the upholding of the Peace and Friendship Treaties of 1752 and 1761, which reaffirmed the land, hunting, and trading rights of this land's original people. And we do encourage all our clients and partners to explore the fundamental impact of First Nations craftsmanship on the current craft traditions enjoyed here today. Each of us in our work and personal lives has a responsibility to consider our relationship to colonialism and its persisting impact on First Nations communities. And by reflecting and educating ourselves, each person can develop their own path for approaching reconciliation and decolonization. We are all treaty people, and together our individual and collective efforts can have an impact. We also want to acknowledge the historic communities such as the many African Nova Scotians or Black Loyalists, as many of them were known as, who faced many hardships and threats of even re-entering slavery upon their arrival to this part of Canada. So the harmful effects of systemic racism implemented even as far back as that remain a harsh reality for many people today. Craft Alliance supports the Black Lives Matter movement and encourages retailers to take steps in evaluating what they can do to support craftspeople from diverse backgrounds, including supporting makers who are Black, Indigenous, people of color, as well as LGBTQ2S individuals and persons with disabilities. So please consider that in your work going forward. Our last talk of the day is with Wendy Diltz from Atlantic Tradewinds. Wendy's been a professional international trade and marketing consultant since 1988. She believes in maintaining a positive mindset, creating partnerships with a purpose, and always striving for significant outcomes in your work. So with Atlantic Tradewinds, she specializes in international trade project management for the Atlantic provinces, with a focus on assisting artisans seeking to export into new areas. And we've worked with her before on quite a few projects. She's headed up the US buyer recruitment programs for Crafties Buyers Expo and ACTS for over 20 years. She remains very well connected with gift and craft retail galleries across Atlantic Canada and New England, and is always looking for new opportunities and connections for Atlantic Canadian artisans. So please welcome Wendy.
Hello, I'm excited to be able to present to you today. I had the opportunity to speak with a lot of retailers to gather this information so it was current. So retail, where's retail going? Moving forward in uncharted territory, and it's moving fast, as I'm sure you all know. So just to recap a little bit, in non-essential retail halted March 20th, or March 14th, 2020. And it impacted every non-essential bricks and mortar retail in the United States. It forced closures for safety reasons and an indefinite time frame for reopening. In each state, each region, they all had their own reasons for reopening and feelings and when they should, the safety piece would allow a retailer to reopen. These retailers had thousands of dollars of inventory. Anxiety and fear were strong emotions everywhere in the United States. And our heart goes out to the retailers because they're depending on this for their livelihood and supporting a lot of craftspeople. Where were they headed? So just to give you, I'm sure it looked very similar to you as it looked to us. So the panic buying across all the essentials, this was like the frozen aisle.
Wendy, sorry, just your screen isn't shared yet. Just want to let you know.
Okay, there's no option for it. Where's the option for that? It doesn't, hold on. I'm going to the menu and it's not coming up.
I made you the host. You should be able to, using the share screen menu.
Across the bottom or the top?
The bottom, I think.
I'm gonna just exit out and see if it's there. Okay, share screen.
There it is.
Okay. Now I'm gonna make it, I apologize for that.
Sorry to interrupt you there.
Well, it would have been, I'm glad you didn't tell me when it was over.
All right, carry on.
Okay, so just, I'm sure you envisioned this all in your heads because it's probably very fresh in your minds. How essential buying looked at this point. Any food, any stores that were open and selling food, this is how they looked. And this is the infamous paper towel, toilet paper aisle. So in 2020, retail sales fell 16.4%, setting a new record for the largest monthly drop ever in the US. The only category that didn't drop was online retailers, and they actually rose 8.44%. And they didn't indicate if that was Amazon, but I think that probably was Amazon. But they didn't, in the article, it didn't depict who was carrying that 8.4% increase. So I just wanted to give you this as a visual to show how dramatic that was, and how we've been going along at an even pace, and the crash in mid-April. So the challenge. So retailers really had a difficult time. They had to refocus the customer buying behavior from pandemic panic buying to a more traditional, non-essential pattern for the retail's own survival. They were like the therapist. They were doing it. They were reaching out to their customers, and they needed to be reached out to. So they kind of took their mind off the pandemic buying and gave them a new way to spend their money. So to hope to survive the pandemic, can retailers endure not without social media or online exchange? The situation, so the retailers were sitting with thousands of dollars of spring merchandise. How do we effectively reach our customers? What do our customers want, like besides toilet paper? How do we sell what we have? And how do we best use our existing web presence? So the options that were coming up were we're reaching out organically. So any way that we've already been reaching out to our customers, we have to continue, because we have our own demographic. So you want to if you're going to reach them immediately, you want to use what you've already been using. To introduce something new wouldn't be practical at this point. And I'm not saying not to integrate into something new, but just at that first week initial reach out. Using digital to keep customers engaged and informed. And that's what a lot of retailers did, just to let them know that we're all in it together. You know, they were sending positive messages and letting them know that they were there and safe. And enhancing websites for e-commerce, which would become very important. And the need for a safe, simplistic way for customers to pick up purchases once they bought them online. So the creativity of retailers kicks in. And creativity is not new. 2021 has given us the opportunity to be innovative. So retailers have always had to be creative. Now they're going to be innovative. So this particular customer, Goods Feed Station in Connecticut, I just want to point out that at this point, more than 50 million small businesses currently use Facebook to connect to their customers. I'm going to show you this small 2-minute video. And the reason I'm showing you is because a video like this, probably pre-pandemic, would not be acceptable. Just like going to work in your pajamas was not acceptable. But I just wanted to show you what people did, she got back up and running. She had all this Easter inventory and she got back up and running in 7 days, you know, got the safety of her family, figured out how they were going to go forward, and presented this video with her daughter, obviously social distancing, and try to preserve some of their Easter product, so because it's perishable, so it didn't go to waste.
Gotta be goofy, I'm warning you. All right, well, it's live now, and then it posts. All right, guys, we're new. Do you want to be seen? No. No! I'm in my pajamas. My eyebrows are connecting. You're going to see my true hair color. Don't put me on camera. All right, what do we have? Okay, so we have Thompson chocolate from Meriden, milk chocolate in these beautiful little foils. Ooh. Nice small bunny if you don't want to OD on chocolate, although I think ODing on chocolate right about now would be a good thing. That's from Thompson from Meriden. On this table we have a lot of wonderful chocolates from Madeline in New York. We have milk, we have dark. Jordan almonds, which are wonderful. This is all Thompson, chocolate bunnies from Meriden. We have more Madeline. We have Jelly Bellies. You're going too fast. Your big hands in the way. We have sour bunnies. This is a hot commodity, so don't wait, folks. Okay. Jelly Belly beans, spring mix. Bruce Naples is watching. Okay, this is like a comedy show here. So this is the little panorama eggs that are very nostalgic, and
the reason I wanted to point out, I kept it to that point, was remembering the nostalgic piece in the end. So in this video, they put it together very quickly. They used Facebook Live. It was longer than 2 minutes, but I just showed you some key points. It's just to show you that, you know, she featured her perishable inventory. She engaged the audience. When they came online, she recognized them, so she made it personable. She was empathetic. They were vulnerable. And the customers loved it. You know, here they are at home, and they want to know that, you know, their hair's turning gray, her hair's turning gray, she's in her jammies. You know, like there was an immediate connection engaging with the customers. They appreciated it. They accepted it. It was endearing, and it gave them some normalcy. And the result for her was she sold out of her $10,000, $12,000. I just saw her on the weekend, worth of perishable inventory. She set up, this is how she carried through 2020. She would do these periodically, and it grew her customer base. And she also provided a safe way to pick it up, hence the porch pickup. So this was a curbside porch side was introduced, and it's been introduced in many places. This just happens to be how she did it. She would be in her store between 11 and 2. They would call her the day before, and she would leave the packages out in the porch. So it was a safe method for customers to receive their goods. And at that point, we were all sanitizing, and we didn't have any touch. So at that point, that was a safe option. So, and looking at analytics, 59% of customers say they would like to continue curbside pickup after the pandemic. It's purely out of convenience. Need a birthday gift, call her up, she gets it ready, she puts it in the box. And there's also, Shopify had pointed it out that they're already trying to improve how you get it picked up. 29% of the customers want to pull up, send you a text message, and so they're using their mobile app, pull up and get it immediately. They want to increase the availability times, like probably she needed to be more later in the day when when work is over to pick up the items. And then of course they included some consumable food items where 28% wanted the orders to be picked up quicker. Probably for food, they wanted hot. But when you're reaching out to your customers, and when I was saying that you have to be creative, well, you're not just all of a sudden going to take your demographic of customers and make them shop on your website, especially if you're not offering it. So this particular customer, Ashley's Place, she's located in a small community in upstate New York. She uses digital, both Facebook and Instagram, to engage her customers. Always positive messages, using it as well. She uses a postcard marketing campaign quarterly, and she has in the past. So she thought that this would be, in order to keep her customers kind of some normalcy, she would keep the postcard part going. And she rewarded them. That postcard has a coupon, so she rewards them with a coupon. And this past holiday season, so normally a 4% return, this holiday season had an 8.4% return. So it was still a successful way for her to engage in her customers, and they were expecting it. And I read in many articles that people were so inundated with emails and other forms of digital that they didn't bring on themselves. Just they went to the email and there it was. They were thrilled to be receiving something to the post. I did want to point out, so as a customer-centric industry that exists to meet the needs of those in our communities, retail begins with people, and retailers provided comfort to their customers. As retailers had been reaching out to their customers, they were reaching back. So not only was she reaching out to her customers through social media, they were reaching back. They needed to reach back. They're like, I need a top for this. Angie, the owner of Ashley's Place, would say, I have 3 of these shirts, post them on Instagram, and they would do transactions that way. Again, safe environment. She was closed for like 3 months, so that kept her afloat, reaching out to her customers, and it kept her some normalcy in their customers' lives. This 66% of all surveyed indicate they learned, I think it's covered up here, I'm sorry, learned through the business, learned that this business was here through family recommendations and friends. So the economy candy, they had adapted and had innovation for the long haul. They're located in the heart of New York City. They've been selling candy for 83 years. The majority of their customers were tourists. The size of the shop, as you can see, and the reason I'm showing this, had safety limitations. The space turned into a warehouse, and they had to lay off their 14 employees. So they went to selling 100% online, and they were only doing 20% of their normal business. So this was not the first time they had to pivot, and it's not the first time they reached out to their community. I wanted to talk about the pivoting. Their grandparents had back in the Depression, had a little cart that did hat and shoe repair and sold a little bit of candy on the side. So when the Great Depression hit, candy sold more than their services. So they increased it, and hence the economy's candy shop. So they adapted, they closed down, they made it a warehouse. Only the husband and wife are monitoring it and serving it. They're promoting candy care packages through their community, inviting them to stop by and pick a candy care package and send it to someone you love. They're offering curbside pickup for any orders from online. And for their community as well, they're offering a curbside shopping on the weekend. So you can go in and you can put your order in there and pick up your order. They're using Instagram and Facebook to drive the customers to their website. It's too bad I couldn't show you this. Kelly Clarkson did, they were promoting some small businesses, and Economy Candy happened to be one of them, and they interviewed the husband and wife, and they just showed how they were persevering through the pandemic, and they were going to get through. And his plea, as you'll hear throughout this whole presentation, is we need people to shop local so we can be here another 80 years. So e-commerce platforms attracted more groups of customers in 2020 and will continue to do so in 2021. Digital strategy pivots. These pivots are essential now part of a long-term business plan. digital just has to be included, because I'm sure you heard this across every sector out there, that we cram 10 years of digital into months. And it's just not, it's not a good way to operate. So we need to, follow digital and bring it in as we need it, but always move forward with it and be aware. So the DIA, they had a digital strategy. They had a digital strategy for 7 years. And even after 7 years, only 5 to 6% of their annual revenue came from were part of their total sales. And yet they were ahead of other museums, which averaged about 3 to 4%, like the Museum of Fine Arts and the Met Museum still only had 3 to 4%. So even with all that, they've dedicated 7 years, they only had 5 to 6%. And their membership had a broad range of availability, or a broad range of ability for using technology. So they decided to increase, they were already doing, they had a web presence and where they did e-commerce. So immediately they increased the product on the web. They use many social media platforms. They use Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, and they use them all, and they integrate them within each other. One thing they did right away, they did a digital gift guide, and they sent it off to their 40,000 membership. And they did an email blast, and they actually got a half return on that. 20,000 of their customers ended up purchasing for the Christmas holiday. And they're normally, the unit of their one price of their one sale actually doubled. So they made up for the other 20% who didn't show up. But the DIA, Detroit Institute of Art, did something very risky. They creative and or risky. They did a mass program. And the reason it was risky, and Eric Huck, the director of retail operations, he went out to the local community and took his artwork, and he found manufacturers to make these masks. So he was able to get them priced, get them ready to go in the store, but he wasn't sure if he wanted to make the commitment, because masks were not mandatory at that point. So you had the risk of obsolescence, the risk of the mandate. Like, did you want to get involved in that public statement? Like in Michigan, I don't even know if they're still if they're mandated at all, because it's state by state. So he decided, he went all the way to the CEO and asked what their thoughts were about this. And the CEO said yes. So the night before he launched, he had sent an LinkedIn message. That LinkedIn message was shared and shared and shared. He did an email blast. He used social media. And in 24 hours, that resulted in $150,000 worth of sold masks. And yes, it was risky, it was creative, and it generated revenue. And NPR also did an article which carried them. After that, he is still selling masks, and they're beautiful. And they even have the cartridge liner inside, which was another thing. Should they be selling that? They felt like they shouldn't be making a profit out of something that they felt should be in a mask. 21% of Americans state that unattractive or hard to navigate websites is frustrating when buying online. My husband and I were discussing this, and we think it should be more like 99% of Americans, or all people, feel that unattractive or hard to navigate websites are frustrating. The Green Bambino is a store in Oklahoma, and she focused on giving her customer a more rich experience. So one of the things she did was upgraded her website using lifestyle photos on the website, which are gorgeous. She did private shopping sessions. She did daily pop-ups on Facebook. She provided ideas for shoppers. So there was limited time slots in the store. So what they would do for Mother's Day and Easter, put packages together, use that product in a product focus on our daily pop-up. And so customers could call in, write in, however they wanted to reach her, she would respond, and they could purchase the product. And and with minimal risk, minimal exposure to other people outside their community. She had a safety pickup, and she believes this is a success is in building great relationships. And the private shopping appointments have been so successful that she's quoted here as, "I'm working on the ideas and how to keep them part as a new normal as they move forward." And just to show you her website, like how beautiful, like the photography is, like you're just drawn right in. You just want to hold that baby's hand. Simplicity of her menu across the top. Very informative, call ahead. A lot of places you arrive and you're like, oh, what do you do? What's your protocol for COVID? So she has it laid out very clear. And now they're welcoming shoppers back. Again, a lifestyle photo, you just want to smile because the child's running. So, she has the message, please wear a mask, subject to capacity, call when you arrive. And, just a nice message, walk, run back, we've missed you too. So see, missed you too, they know that the customer has missed them. Plum Porch, and I just talked to these two lovely ladies on Sunday. They're located on Cape Cod, and I discussed some of the trends that I had found, and they shared with me, and they had just returned from Atlanta, and they were just launched their dress shop, and that first week they were distressed, they were desperate in the beginning, and then it didn't take long for things to fall into place. First of all, they were doing e-commerce, so immediately they added to their website, and they posted weekly Facebook photos or videos, and just they would take product, they would feature it. They would say birthday product, Easter product. They did a lot of FaceTime appointments where people called up and said, I have a birthday person I need to buy for. It needs to be within a price range. And then they would do some ideas, call them back on FaceTime and go through the store with them and maybe either show them the packages they made or allow them to participate and put the package together. They use digital to send positive messages right from the very beginning, to reaching out to their customers, making sure they knew they were there. Again, 64% of parents of school-aged children independently reached out to independently owned businesses in their community. They wanted to reach out. They wanted to have people like them and understand where they were, because like someone reaching out to Detroit or even into the South might not understand that we're in phase 2 and we can't go to the park without a face mask, whereas Atlanta's has bar opens, their bars are open and they're eating in restaurants. So reaching community, they had the same understanding of what was going on in the world as we did. We shared that. So the result is they sold out of their dress inventory, which was contrary to what people were selling. People were more into the casual wear. The reopening of revealed Facebook video success. Their followers, they were hanging on. Those moms with the kids out of school, they built customer trust, support. They helped with the feeling at normal. So every day that video would be on Facebook, those moms, that was their quiet time. They could reach out and feel like a part and engage with, again, people like them, young women, they're in their 40s with children, so they could relate to them. So again, building that customer trust and community. And the other thing that was really interesting, we think the smaller retailers were able to pivot much easier than like TJ Maxx. So that gave them a competitive edge. The smaller retailers had fresh merchandise. They were able to juggle their merchandise around, not foul a planogram. I walked in TJ Maxx in mid-May and I felt like I walked into a time warp. They still had transitional and winter going on. They had very little, they were, getting ready for gardening things, because their supply chain was interrupted. It's so big, it was interrupted. So people they might have bought from in China were now making respirators or making PPE. So they weren't making some of the things that they were buying. So they kind of got stuck. And the same with Macy's. I walked into Macy's and there was no clothing, no gifts in Macy's. It was like empty. So at least the small retailers had the ability, and buying local, they could go pick up the shipments. They knew what was available, and people wanted that. They wanted this whole thing. They wanted to support. It's all a big circle of supporting each other. And here's a graph showing 50% of the buyers seek out local, independently owned businesses to support. And it's kind of broken down the age group. And again, 35 to 54 with probably the disposable income, 53% of them, reached out, and 55 and plus carried the biggest percentage of wanting to support local. And that was from Shopify blog. Digital must be part of our customer engagement. So as people are staying home, what they've noticed the trend is people, even though they're on their computers on Zoom all day with their bosses, and the new Zoom etiquette is not to have your phone by you while you're on the phone, or while you're on Zoom, so people can't see you being distracted with your phone. So people are taking their mobile and going into the, doing laundry, looking after the kids. They have that phone on them and they're accessing the mobile apps. So, you need to have, if you're going to use digital and you have a website, you have to make sure your digital has a mobile app, has a mobile applicability. So when, I'm sure we've all been on websites where, you get the boot and you click on it and it's so big that you can't even, it sends it into another area. So having your mobile shopping, being able to access your website and your information by a mobile app is important. And you want it to have snackable content. So 65% of all e-commerce traffic comes from mobile. 53% of the e-commerce sales come from mobile sessions. 89% of the mobile traffic is converted into sales, and that's from fashion retailer. 79% of smartphone users make a mobile purchase, and it's made a mobile purchase in the last 6 months. So that's just showing you, I just did my website and I didn't know what it meant. And then I looked on my phone and realized it didn't list the products in a nice vertical, easily read way. So that's important when you're looking at increasing your digital. So social media is the largest engagement tool of any business in their arsenal today. It's the best line of communication with customers and prospects. It's more engaging. The ability to reach the customer in real time. You get real-time feedback. You have them right in your hands, and this is what it's all about. You want to make the experience feel like they're right in the store with you. The customer feels, and the important thing is, if the customer reaches out and comments, you should comment back, because the customer wants to feel listened to and they want to feel appreciated. And the feedback allows you to optimize your message. You're optimizing your digital presence. But and the other thing is, these are all digital platforms. I just listened to a webinar on how, I'm talking about Facebook, Instagram. We need to talk about TikTok. I'm reading that's really it's growing broader. 80-year-olds are on TikTok and using TikTok. Twitch was a gaming platform, and I think it's more, who your demographic is. Would you be using it? But this video, I think, is just a quick one. So it's just fun. And you can see that they use TikTok. They integrated. They use the two platforms. It makes you want to call them up and say, hey, what other bags, right to their website. And it's fun, and it makes you jump and feel good. And so that's important. They're engaging their customer. So we're not exactly sure what retail will look like, but it will be a mix of social media and in-person shopping. And we're just looking how analysts see digital engagement in the future. According to the National Retail Association, Now that states are starting to loosen restrictions, consumers will once again walk the aisles, hold merchandise, and interact with associates. Analysts say while shoppers are eager to return to the traditional bricks and mortar experience, retailers should take the opportunity to continue to use both digital and in-person to work with customers, because retail will not look the same. Again, you know, we're dabbling, and you know, most of us are in Instagram and Facebook and maybe many others, but it needs to go forward. We need to move along with it instead of waiting to catch up. And I just thought this was an interesting one from the PepsiCo CEO. Technology is not going to take away human interaction. Its consumers are eager to be familiar in-person retail experiences and will utilize tech as a tool to enhance those experiences. Adoption of new tools will be positively received as long as they are seamlessly integrated. So just like that, TikTok was integrated with Instagram. Plenty of ways, and technology is becoming seamless. Here I am talking to you from a snowstorm in Massachusetts. Pop-up shops. I'm not going to talk too much about this now. We're going to, just because there wasn't a lot to talk about, but they're low investment, they increase sales capacity, direct customer feedback, opportunities to collaborate. And like the Museum of Fine Arts last year used pop-ups. She did 17 retailers that came inside her shop and set up a little pop-up shop. But this year, that museum didn't open till late September, which didn't give her an opportunity to plan it, and nor would it have been allowed. But so what we did find out about pop-ups were consumers sought out pop-ups. They liked them, and they felt only if they felt they were safe to attend. So they look differently in 2020 because of the social distance restrictions. In downtown Detroit, they normally allowed pop-ups to, you know, you collaborated with other store owners. This year, they had 6 vacant storefronts along their downtown core, and they allowed pop-ups to go in there. And they did, and they're very successful. And because a lot of it was promoted outdoors in the outdoor space, they went and saw the Christmas tree lighting, and it gave them a chance to, you know, visit the pop-up shops. The Detroit Institute of Art, what they did is they pre-filmed 3 local vendors sharing their artisan crafts. And what he did is he did an email blast, and he posted it on social media so the interviews could be directed towards their membership and other outside users that had an interest, and drove them back to their website and to the DIA for purchasing. It was pretty clever. I went and watched some of them online, and he really engaged them. The Green Bambino, as I said before, featured daily pop-ups on their patio to introduce new brands. And Bonafide Green Gifts, who's in New Hampshire, had different restrictions. She shared a vacant storefront in a neighboring community for additional exposure. So she looked at her digital analytics and found out that many people were buying from Portsmouth, which was like maybe an hour away. So she found some storefront to offer convenience to her customer and brought the little pop-up to them. Okay, so some more social media facts. During the 4th quarter of 2020, Facebook reported almost 185 billion new users to Facebook. Overall, daily activity users accounted for 66% of the monthly active users. And just some of these, you know, if you're using Facebook, just some of these are mind-boggling. It's like 85% of the orders of social media channels originated from Facebook. 84% of US online buyers review at least one social media platform before buying. 30% of online purchasers are likely to buy from Facebook, Twitter, or Snapchat. 39% of Americans share their experience from vendors on social media platforms, which is great, because I don't know if there's a Gen Xer who doesn't pick up that where, oh, go look at that store and do a review. They're all into that. So the fact that many Americans are sharing their experience is only going to benefit you, especially when it's positive. 30% of online customers have posted feedback online, and $55 the average order value for a customer referred from Facebook. So all very promising, because I know so many people are on Facebook, so a lot of promising data there for people who do use it. Some trends. I don't know if this is what you're all waiting for and find out how we're going to come out of this, but Dorothy Belshaw, she's the Executive Vice President, Chief Customer Marketing Officer for the International Market Centers. And she was at the Atlanta show and the Dallas show. And the buying activity, even though it was half the people that were there and they practiced social distancing, what was strongest was stay-at-home products categories like home entertaining, outdoor kitchenware, and the ever ubiquitous, I practiced this too 3 times before, but candle business, which is everywhere, and it still will, because consumables, they love consumables. Home decor, decorative accessories are very strong categories at the market. According to Belshaw, along with gourmet housewares, tabletop, and consumables like candy and candles and food. She is expecting housewares and tabletop to have an exceptional year. Adjusting to the new reality. So again, engaging people around you. These are things that people wanted to buy. Engaging, you need to engage the people around you. So toys, and this category increased 16% in the Atlanta market. I'm going to say puzzles, but when I talk to some people about puzzles, they're probably still big, but they're like, can we do another puzzle? The DIY, the long lost hobbies revisited. The things you can have time to teach your kid how to knit or participate in a a pottery wheel. So the DIY was very big, and it was big in home. Obviously, Home Depot, they were fixing their whole houses up. They want what they're buying. They want some functionality to it. One big thing that was there's a cup that a local crafts person makes here that you put your hand in to warm it up. That had functionality, the mug that offered functionality. Home decor, anything that enhances the time at home is rebounding quite nicely, as Belshaw said. Consumables, the comfort food people are eating. So many retailers are offering a gourmet section now because there's 2 to 1, it goes out the door when somebody's buying a gift. It includes a consumable. And consumable also is soap and other soap and what's the other thing, but any of those things that they have to come back and buy. Now necessities, so it was clear masks are not accessories but necessities. So masks are not going anywhere. Finally, designers are putting their own spin on the must-have item, making them from coordinating materials and adding flourishes like filters, chains, and bows. And I did manage to snag this picture that show, I don't know if I'll be wearing any of these masks, but I think it's pretty cool. I thought from the beginning it was actually going to be an accessory. Why not match your outfit? Like, I'd want to do that. So they're on board, and so you're going to see more masks in different ways, and it's going to take up a lot of section in but it's also going to be profitable. Transitioning into normal wear, dress better, feel better. And I was getting mixed results about this, but the fact is, my friend that has the Ashley's Place just came from some buying trips. She said yoga and casual wear was, and I think they're calling it athleisure, is very big. A lot of the dress vendors has transitioned into selling a more saleable item like the yoga, the more comfortable items. People are wearing makeup to feel better. And I think this is the push behind the makeup companies, because they're really featuring, when you have a mask on, you can only see your eyes. So they're featuring eyes, clips for the hair, all sorts of eye coloring. So the makeup companies are using AI technology. So you're able to try on makeup to see how it looks without, within the safety protocol. Zoom clothing. Yes, I put on my Zoom shirt. Greg brought this to my attention. And I looked it up. And so you got a fancy shirt sitting on the back of your chair. So when you go to make the Zoom call, you stick it on and you look like a pro, and that you've been dressed up for days, and on the bottoms you're wearing pajamas. But with that Zoom clothing, you're still going to need accessories. Like the Museum of the Detroit Institute of Art is going to start bringing in lower end earrings to see how they go. Hair accessories. So accessories to complement you know, to make you feel better, go with your makeup, and maybe you're not going to be spending all that on the shirt that only your small community will see, but you're going to be spending on accessories. Which brings us to casual Fridays and dress up Fridays. And I was getting mixed reviews on that. But this trend that I found that was by ASI Central, in 2021, expect a return to brighter colors and fun patterns. People will also be increasingly eager to dress up, whether for work or safe socializing. Despite this renewed spirit of sartorial optimism, however, the effects of the lengthy pandemic will linger. Athleisure and casual looks will stay strong, and many embrace remote work indefinitely. But I just want to say about the dress, yes, that's true, the casual's in, but that Plum Porch told me they sold out of every single dress, and it could be their clientele on the Cape. And I bet you if we looked at that statistic in the South, the South is open and the summer's coming. They want, you know, a lot of those Southern culture dresses up in dresses every day of the week, summer and winter, like, because it's mild weather. So I wouldn't say dresses are totally out of it, but I think you have to look at who you're servicing, who your customer is, and how they feel. Maybe you need to carry Zoom clothes or do a lot of Zoom meetings. Gardening, Google reports a 39 increase last year to this year on the topic. How many times people are like accessing Google, looking it up. It's a good indicator of what's on people's minds. With this information, the expert at Love the Garden analyzed over 100 different garden related hashtags on Instagram to uncover those growing in popularity and representing likely trends for 2021. Growing food was huge. When you saw those empty shelves, I think I read Vessi Seeds last year sold an exorbitant amount of seed because people were afraid they weren't going to get their food supply. So they wanted to make sure they had their own sustainability and they were growing their own food, and that trend is continuing. Plus, gardening is a form of relaxation for some people. The outdoor activities will still be strong as social distances and limitations will prevail for a while longer. You have more time to create the outdoor oasis, backyards and patios turned into living spaces, and social distancing and entertaining. And how, I mean, that trend, how I'm sure you all know how it's going to impact you. Like you're going to, you know, do home decor, like Ladybug Haven's going to have great decor, like with ladybugs on it to do her chips and dip, or let me just show you, you know, you have to be creative. Are you going to carry hats for the gardener? Are you going to maybe do some fun hand gloves? So, you know, there's still, you're not going to sell the big lawn furniture, sell the pitchfork or sell the seeds. So maybe even sell the seeds, but you're going to sell maybe how to do books, you know, so there's lots of interesting things off of gardening that you'll be able to sell in the trend. Shopping is more like a transaction. It is a social activity that's part of the fabric of American life, making it likely that consumers will want to return to normal shopping as the pandemic subsides and the economy fully reopens. So neighborhood shopping will continue as people continue to work from home. They want to be close, they want to be safe, they want to be in environments that where people know them. Social media to drive shoppers to the website or purchase in their store. They're going to see that garden. I think I read wicker bags were in line. You know, you show a series of wicker bags, driving them to your website, show a lifestyle photo of, you know, fun dress in the garden with picking up vegetables with her wicker bag. Curbside pickup is not going anywhere, as we learned earlier. It's a convenience, and that's going to be trending going forward. Buy online and in stores. So I don't know if this is a great thing, but when they return in stores, 20% of the in-store returns turn into additional purchases. So, you know, you don't want a ton of returns, but those returns are turning into additional purchases. Community support will continue to be important. I can't say that, I think it echoed throughout the presentation. Community was big. And nostalgia. This served as an anchor in 2020, and consumers returned to products and experience that felt comfortable and familiar to cope. Just like in the very beginning video, she showed a spun little Easter egg from our childhood, like bringing back memories, trying to some normal, what felt good. That's all going to be going forward. The top reason consumers prefer to shop in store versus online is to see, feel, and experience the product in person. And at this point, have some interaction. I was in CVS one day and I spent an hour in there, and I laughed at the clerk laughed at me because I was like looking at old Halloween just so I didn't have to go home. It was entertaining, and we were limiting where you could go and where you felt safest. So buy local. Consumers will support local products. Also, consumers who support local products also tend to be more loyal and do more research before buying. Selling regionally priced items is a great example of a promotional idea for retail stores that can really make a difference. Also, this limits risk of supply chain interruption, and it shows we are all supporting each other. Again, we want to feel good. It makes us feel good who we're supporting. We're helping you. You're helping us keep sanity by being there for us. Shopping will include a social decision. Consumers want to feel good about where they shop, who they align with. I know my daughter who's she's a Gen Xer, and on the board of a millennial, and she told me she's not shopping at a Home Depot because they paid into Trump's campaign. So these things, how you support socially, social justice, all that is going to impact how consumers interact with you. And I kind of called this the Cheers phenomena. 75% of consumers are more likely to buy from a retailer that recognizes them by name, recommends options based on their past purchases, or knows their purchase history. They want to feel comfortable. They're off on their lunch hour. They're like, oh, hi, that little bit of interaction. We're social creatures. We want to interact. Regardless of how it shakes out, history shows us that if consumers keep spending, retailers will be there to serve their customers however they choose to shop. Thank you. I hope you thought it was informative.
Thanks so much, Wendy. That was awesome. Like a ton of information there to take in, and a lot of good examples, a lot of good recommendations of the different ways that you can pivot, whether it's investing in strategies to reach your customers or types of products that people should be looking into. So that's just like a ton of great information that I think everybody will be considering in their own ways, right? So appreciate that presentation. And we just wanted to add a quick conversation at the end of it. So I'm going to promote a few people up to our panel now. We have Allison Brown from Legacy Lane Fiber Mill. We've got, I'm just looking for the names in here. Jamie Neeson is going to be joining us from Island Stoneware, PEI. And then Wendy McLean from the Village Gift Shop in Tatamagouche, Nova Scotia. So we have some New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and PEI representation showing up here. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey there.
Thanks for joining us. Glad you could take part in the conversation with us right now. I think Wendy is she joined up? I don't see her. So looks like she left. Anyway, so we just wanted to get some reaction, I guess, to that information that Wendy presented, and get your input on what's worked for you. What's your experience been in this past year dealing with the pandemic and having to pivot in these different ways? So maybe we can just start with an intro for each of you. Jamie, you want to start us off?
Sure, thanks, Greg. My name's Jamie. I own and operate Island Stoneware, which is a handmade pottery studio on PEI. Historically, our business has been largely wholesale with some retail, and we're based on PEI, and we ship mostly across North America, but in the last year, increasingly worldwide with direct retail. So for us, the last year has been a huge pivot. We had a really successful start to the year with wholesale, and then that business with COVID almost entirely collapsed and never returned. So 2021 was I'm tired of the word, but it's true. We pivoted and changed our emphasis. So that's kind of where we're at.
Great. Allison, oh, she just disappeared off the screen for a second.
Sorry about that. I just had to close the curtain.
No problem.
Hi, my name's Allison Brown. I co-own Legacy Lane Fiber Mill. We are based out of Sussex, New Brunswick, and we are a full service custom processing mill. So we service fiber farmers across Canada and the US. And along with our processing mill, we do wholesale and retail knitwear, weaving and yarn products. Our business has seen actually a huge growth in the last year. We're really excited about it. We are still, servicing farmers. The need for processing hasn't shortened any. And as Wendy mentioned in her presentation, there seems to be a real interest in knitting and that do-it-yourself craft initiative that's really seen some expansion in our business for sure. So yeah.
Nice. And I know, Allison, you told me you opened a retail shop in 2020. You were already planning to take that plunge, and obviously the timing ended up being quite interesting. Maybe you can tell us about that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It was always one of our goals to where our mill is located in our town. We were only zoned for an industrial park, so it really limited our exposure to the come by chance customers. We did have a small retail space in the mill that was, successful for the time being, but we always wanted to have that stronger presence kind of on the more footpath of our town. So the perfect building presented itself, and we were actually working on it prior to the pandemic. And then some kind of roadblocks came about with trying to purchase it during the initial part of the pandemic because people weren't allowed in and we couldn't get inspections done. And so we thought, maybe it's not the right time, but we kind of said, when else are we going to do it? Let's just go for it. So we did purchase and we opened. So we finally got everything done in September. We had began actually in the December prior. So finally in September of 2020, we took over ownership. We did a quick reno to the bottom floor and opened November the 2nd, just in time for Christmas. And we had the most phenomenal Christmas we've ever had. Now, whether that was just, people wanting to support local, wanting to buy something a little bit more that they could connect with, or the fact that we were on Main Street, I'm not really sure, but it was a huge success and we couldn't have been happier with it.
Nice. Yeah, quite a year, I guess, kind of a whirlwind for you. Wendy McLean, how about yourself? Maybe you can introduce yourself and give us an insight as to what this year was like for you. You're currently muted, by the way.
There, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're all good.
Okay. I think last year certainly had a lot of opportunities. I looked at the pandemic and what was happening and having to close my doors to the public. I kind of looked at it as a way that I could go forward and try new things that I've not done before. And we actually closed our main doors for 13 weeks. And we installed a window on the main floor of our business so people could come and we could do curbside drop off and pick up. There was a local man here who works with Property Guys, and he had a really good camera. and he had offered to go into my business and several other businesses on the North Shore and to do a free 3D virtual tour. So you could view my gift shop. Every single product in my gift shop you could view, and that really helped pick up some interest online, and even people who were local that didn't tend to shop here decided to come and to try. So I think that was one of the bigger things for me was trying to learn to adapt, but to try new things that I hadn't done before. I don't know. I guess the other thing is, for me, I actually did put up a pop-up store right next to my existing business. I decided that I had so much Christmas stock and inventory, and I was kind of nervous that I was going to be stuck with all this inventory and the way things were going and numbers were going down so low. I put up a pop-up Christmas store. It was 400 square feet, and I designed sweatshirts, and I had a friend and we bartered back and forth. She's a photographer, so she did my advertisement and I gave her deals and discounts. And it was called the Village Christmas Store on the main street in Tatamagouche. And that little store only opened Thursday to Sunday, and it sold my gift shop. December 20th, I cleared everything 40% off. I donated the rest of the product that was in to local families and to our nursing home and to hospital staff. And then I closed the store for the remainder of Christmas, and I am presently in the process of opening up that little pop-up store to be a seasonal store for beachcombers, beachwear and accessories. So I'm going to have nautical products there. It's not something that I would expect to do in the middle of a pandemic. And I think that I had so much idle time where I was closed for those 13 weeks that I just couldn't stop my mind from thinking, like, how can I move this product? How can I make it more visible? How can I make it more accessible when we're not even open to the public? So I started offering shipping. I did shipping, and I also did within a 60-kilometer radius, we did free delivery. You could go online and view a product, and because of the 3D tour, and you could send it to an e-transfer, and we would put it in a box and put it outside your door. And we did delivery 7 days a week. So those are a few of the things that I felt that really kept us going in a forward motion. And right now I am fully stocked for spring. And usually my January and February are usually quite slow, but I've had really good success. I find that there's lots of people around. Like, people are shopping more so local, and I find last winter I think I did 4 draws or days, and it was a contest on Facebook, and you had to like and share in order to get your name entered in. And one of those contests was for a sweatshirt, and I had 5,000 shares. I mean, and I just never really thought that that was even possible. I mean, the sweatshirt only cost me $28. It was my own design. So I guess that's pretty much my add-on.
On the digital, what you said, the 3D piece that you had at 3D set up, I was going to feature something on that, but it was it's funny why I didn't. It was a museum in Indianapolis. It was their children's museum, and it went on, and they went to the product and like a volcano, and they showed how it worked. But I didn't want to show it because I didn't think anyone there would do it, because I thought it would be so didn't want to show that a museum could do that, knowing the resources a museum had. But then again, like across the board, the smaller businesses were able to pivot so much better than the larger ones. They maybe not the resources, but you said you bartered and so you had different resources. You didn't have financial resources. You had, you had people who had the talent that you needed do the camera shopping or set it up 3D. So I want to go online and look afterwards, because I'll show you the link for that museum, because it was interesting. And you could even have a personal shopper walk through it with you, I think.
I think that the biggest thing for me is time too. Because I've been doing so much ordering at home, and even when in the middle of being closed last winter and having the opportunity to have every bit of my product viewed, I mean, it was just such a time saver for me. And he volunteered his time, and we've given his since. So I mean, I find that on the North Shore in Tatamagouche anyway, there's a lot of bartering that goes back and forth. And I find, like, I have a local lady, he gives me honey, and I give her containers. So I mean, it's nice to be able to offer something and to not have to break the bank for somebody else to return the favor. So I mean, in that 3D visual tour, I mean, the video was viewed so much, and then other businesses in the community contacted us and asked us, where do we get that? And so we passed along his information, and since because of that, like, he is now like he's done quite well because of that. And it was just him giving an offer. I find that probably one of the biggest things for me last year was that even though things were changed and finances were tight, and you know, so many, I guess the traffic had slowed down so much, I didn't stop doing donations to local places and to people that needed it. And I find that when people know that you're having a hard time, they'll come back in, and they'll come, the people that you're kind to, they'll come back and they'll try to be kind to you too. You know, it's kind of like a give and take. I mean, you do what you can. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at, I guess, here, because it's such a small community, and when you're kind, you can really make an impact.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You've touched on a lot of different strategies there, Wendy, and some of them have to do with how you market to your customers, and others have to do with just how you use your physical space and even expand past that physical space. I'm kind of curious if Jamie and Allison have done anything, or if you would have any input on what's been more important to you, whether it's that marketing piece, or, you know, being able to reach people digitally or in different ways that's been more important, or has it been adapting your space that's been more important? What do you feel has been the essential part of you know, how you've pivoted?
I'm happy to tackle that. For me, it's a mix of things. I would look at what we already had. So we were already selling through 3 channels: wholesale, bricks and mortar retail, and online retail. We'd opened an online store in June 2019. We had put very little effort behind it in terms of really pushing it. It was, the nominal goal was simply to release pressure for the person who vacationed here 5 years ago and they broke the coffee mug that was their favorite, and they're, you know, in Texas, and they don't care how much the shipping costs, and they want that one mug. And independent of that website, it was like 5 calls and 6 emails to sell 1 mug, and then all the you know, the margin's gone because you've taken all of this time. So my initial goal was simply to be able to satisfy those customers, because there we had them and I appreciated them, but also there was very little data collection. So we opened that store. So for us, in April of last year, we laid our staff off as of April 7th, and we only brought back half of that team in July. I was still here every day. So I reshot every single piece of pottery that I had in the studio. So I did a couple thousand photos, because I took more photos of more angles. So digital is huge, because what it allows you to do is to extend your front door, right? Is that now you're everywhere. I did research a number of years ago for an academic project, and interesting that the concept of local has supplanted, particularly like when it comes to food, the word organic, because organic is very hard to define. So the idea of local is kind of elastic. And I did a blog post that got shared by our wholesale customers and quite liked by many people, even though our blog doesn't get a lot of traffic. That talked about what it means when you buy locally in Smithers, BC, or Sussex, New Brunswick, from a piece of pottery. You know, you're giving a job to a potter in Summerside, Prince Edward Island, that might not otherwise have a job. And that kind of thing resonates with people. The research I've looked at is suggesting that the money that would have been spent on dining out and travel is being spent on things at like our shops. We had a phenomenal close to the year. I mean, every day I looked and I was astounded by what was happening, and I certainly hope that continues. So we had 3 sales channels. We just started to lean then on the online because wholesale was gone. We were obviously in conversation with our wholesale customers, but there was so much uncertainty that nobody knew what and when, or even if. So Instagram and Facebook are huge for us. We also were able to bring on a social media consultant in the summer who helped us. What I would say is there's tons of tools out there. You need to find the one that's suitable for your business. You don't need to be on every platform. You need to be where your customers are. So pick a couple, 1 or 2, start, and then start to explore. Like maybe they are on TikTok, maybe they are in Snapchat, maybe they aren't. So it takes time to figure that out. The other piece that we did was we were presented an opportunity to open a pop-up shop in the summer at Cavendish, which is a major tourist destination on PEI. Because of the uncertainty, I mean, the business part of me is just like, I basically was able to manage almost all the downside risk, including the right to void the contract if I didn't hit a sales threshold in July, because it's like, I can't afford to like have a shop that's losing money. That turned out to be great for us because our in-studio retail was down 50% last summer. So the pop-up shop in Cavendish, which was an outside location with like wagons, you know, little wagon kiosks that we opened and unlocked every day. That was great. We're looking to do that again this year. And then the other thing is we also actually redid, even though I launched a brand new website in the spring of 2019, including the e-commerce backend, I changed platforms and moved the business to being an integrated omni-channel capable to Shopify. So we moved to Shopify POS and Shopify for the back end of the website and inventory management, which as a small business owner, like integrated so many things and reduced how much time I needed to spend. It also gave me greater line of sight over my customer and more data into where they were coming from, how many visits they made, like the difference between what I was using before, which was WordPress and WooCommerce, and Shopify, is that Shopify is an e-commerce platform. And everything that it does is about a conversion to a customer. So every tool, every metric is all about that. I will be the first to say have become a total evangelist. It's made a big difference for us. And yeah, the kind of hand in hand between social and the physical is fantastic. We launched a new mug, and like 30 minutes after we posted it on Facebook, we sold 3 of them in the studio. Like people come in and say, I saw it on Facebook. So for us, we know our customer, typically our largest customer base is women over 40. Those women are online, and they are particularly on Facebook. They are also on Instagram, and I can see the statistics there. It's driving tons of traffic to us. The other piece that we did, that I would close with, is this was less about driving sales and more about awareness, because we relocated from one location in PEI to another, to Summerside. And you know how it is that people drive by and they don't see that you're there, because for 20 years it was a furniture store and they just think it still is. So yeah, in the fall, because of no craft fairs and because of empty space, because we had fewer potters, I sent an email out to artisans all over the islands to say, hey, we have an additional space. If you want to come in and set up, every weekend before Christmas, we hosted different crafters and had people in the studio, and that was great. People came in to see them who had never been to the studio before, and people who met them and bought things from them that had come to the studio but didn't know about them. And it also is translating into a consumable. So we had a new business started by new Canadians, and they make candles. And so we're now making a candle vessel and are going to sell a consumable candle product. So a business partnership emerged out of that. And I mean, there was no rental fee, there was no charge. We were just like, we have a couple of tables set up, handle your own sales, we'll promote you on social, we'll do whatever we can do. But you make your own sale, there's no cost to anybody. And that was a ton of fun. Great chance to meet people. And I think it did bring some new traffic to the store for sure.
Wow, nice. What about you, Allison? Did you have any aha moments, anything that you tried that really turned into an integral part of how you approached things in your retail shop or otherwise?
Well, I definitely want to mirror pretty much everything that Jamie just said. I felt like, he was kind of pulling things right out of my head. We did a lot of the similar initiatives. Definitely moved into a more digital platform for sure. Tried to kind of focus on adding value to our customers. So, providing a lot of free stuff, which kind of really encouraged them to buy our product that they could then, if you give a free element with it, and they usually would buy as well. So we did a lot of free sharing, a lot of giveaways. So just boosting your social brands with the like and share and giveaways. I mean, people love that stuff. We've seen huge growth for that. We also implemented a lot of discount appreciation days. So, for frontline workers or for healthcare workers or for educators. So each week or day specific, there would be a really good chunk of a discount if you were buying for, or you were yourself one of those kind of chosen groups, which seemed to be really appreciated by a lot of people. We actually we're a little bit later on the website shift because we opened the store, and that kind of ate up a huge amount of time. But right now I'm in the process of rebuilding a website to do exactly what Jamie had mentioned, have our brick and mortar, be able to talk seamlessly to our website. That wasn't something that we had never done. Our website was more of a tool for sharing information, but less of a tool for selling our product online. So we've really seen that needs to take a shift. It can be both a tool for information sharing, but it can, that extension of the front door. I love that saying. You can really expand your customer base. So right now we're in the process of website rebuilding and having our POS and the brick and mortar talk seamlessly to our website, which is very exciting. I'm really excited about that. Yeah, and I think a lot of digital platforms. I mentioned we did some fun group things, kind of like the Zoom meeting, but we had really group-specific Facebook groups. So you would join in our group, we would do Facebook chats, we would do lives in them. We'd do like a project together, so people would share their progress reports. So again, back to that whole do-it-yourself. It supported them throughout that and gave a little bit of interaction when we were all kind of in lockdown. It really provided people with that sense of, community and socialization. And so, yeah, I guess that was something we had never really done prior to the pandemic. And it seems to be a tool that's worked well, and I know we'll continue to use in our business for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I love hearing that recurring theme from all of you of how resource sharing within your community has been a really essential part for how everybody's been managed to stay afloat and help each other out wherever it's possible. And we're lucky to live in an area where we are connected to our communities, and that's really possible. So that's really great to hear from everybody.
We had an incredible local push, Love Local PEI.
Mm-hmm.
Customers told us when they came in, like we made a commitment that we weren't going to buy anything that had to be shipped. We were going to buy everything local. I had a customer online when I came in the next morning, and I actually was going to call, but I thought it was fraud because there were so many orders from the same person, but then small details would be different, like customer name would be slightly different, but the same billing address. And it was like, nothing came up as suspicious. Like Shopify has algorithms that does all of that. And literally then they called to ask a question, or they emailed to ask if we shipped to the US, and I said yes. And I just realized it was like 3 people in the household, but 1 person who was comfortable with online shopping, and they did all of their Christmas shopping with us, and we shipped all across Canada and into the US, and they just came, and here's the thing, you have to leverage what is the advantage to you. And Wendy, you talked about this particular customer, I honestly didn't remember, but they came to see us when we were, I think at our other location, and it was the winter. and I had to shovel to like let them in because it was the winter and it was in this tourist area and there was like nobody. Like we would literally have 3 people in the first quarter of the year. And then they came and they were looking to move here from Ontario. I referred them to a real estate agent, to a mortgage broker. They subsequently moved here, bought a house, used that real estate agent, and I had no idea that they were grateful because I had helped them move to the island and made all of that so much easier. I had no idea. And the piece I would just add is with the website, the other piece we've invested in is direct email marketing software that integrates with the website. And I have automatic flows now set up. So 16 hours after a customer's initial purchase, they get an email from me, which I wrote, but it's not a personal email, right? It's automatically triggered. And I cannot even tell you how many people write back as though I had sent that notes to them personally. And I did write it personally. Like, it says, "Hi, this is Jamie and I'm one of the co-owners, and thank you so much for bringing us into your home and making us part of your everyday life. And because pottery lasts so long, we expect to be around a while," like that kind of tone, sort of welcoming someone to our home. That's kind of like the brand tone we were looking for. And now it begets this whole dialogue opportunity with customers. And I think, Wendy, you said, like, I write back, right? And again, another customer's like, "Hey, we're thinking of moving." I'm like, "Yep. Here's my tips and tricks. Now I'm an island ambassador." And it's just fascinating that dialogue. And in the darker days of last spring, those were the kinds of conversations that got me through. And it makes me feel like that's the thing that TJ Maxx and those guys can't do that we can do. And it is to the quote that Wendy Diltz gave, is that, yeah, this is not, the digital isn't replacing that. It is still an opportunity for a personal interaction, even though it's facilitated digitally. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's an excellent note, I think, to start wrapping things up on, Jamie. I do appreciate all of your inputs here. And so we're coming up on time now. So maybe if each of you has a final point that they want to make about, whether it was a surprise product that ended up, being hugely successful for you, or something that stood out for you last year, or something, anything that we haven't covered yet that you would want to pass on to the people who are in our audience today. Wendy, maybe do you want to start with something?
I think the most important thing for me in every day of being a business owner is to always try to give the best customer service, because people remember how you treat them. People remember that you took the extra time. And I mean, I had some lady come up here and she had $12 and I spent an hour with her. It really doesn't matter how much a person can spend at your business. To me, it's their experience and that they felt appreciated. And plenty of times when customers come upstairs, we say, "Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you coming today." And I find it on a personal level, that seems to be the best interaction. And I find that when the experience is so positive, that people want to come back because they want to see what else is going on. And I think, that's basically my biggest thing is just trying to give the best customer service and the best experience and a personal experience, because this is my family's livelihood, and this is something that I put a lot of time and energy and into it. And I'm a Christian, and I just hope that it shows.
Excellent. Thank you. Allison?
Sure, I'll share a quick little story, and this is kind of in relation to Wendy's comment about customer service and just the importance of realizing that people are kind of stuck right now, and they still want to do good, and they still want to, show love to others. We had a customer call. She was in Moncton. She was in lockdown, so they were in red. She wasn't supposed to travel anywhere, and she had an uncle in a hospital in Fredericton. And it was his 90th birthday. And she really wanted to get him a gift. He was well, he couldn't see anybody. He's a writer. So she was, just looking for anything, maybe a sweater or something, a scarf. And she mentioned that he was a writer to me. And she said, I've called all these businesses in Fredericton and none of them can really help me, but I need this purchase to get there to him. They'll, deliver it to the hospital and they'll make sure he gets it. So we kind of tried to figure out how we could make this happen. I called a couple of delivery services. There wasn't anybody going from Sussex to Fredericton. I went on Facebook, shouted out to some of my friends, no. And then we had thought of the bus. So I suggested, we have a local author has these books here that he's selling. We can put together a book. And what about a pair of socks? And she was thrilled. And she's like, well, how am I going to, get it still? How do we get it there? The bus. So we drove it over to the bus, popped it on the bus. She had a friend in Fredericton that went to the bus station, picked it up, and took it to the hospital, and they delivered it to him. She wanted to pay me gas money. She wanted to, she was so adamant that she needs to reimburse me somehow. And all I said is, you can just go on our social media and do a shout out and just tell all your friends that if they're in Sussex or if they're online and they want to buy something, woolly and fuzzy, that they can shop. So she was thrilled. And like the whole mill, like our whole, the store staff, the mill staff, the studio, we were all like working together, trying to figure this out. And everybody felt so good after it happened. And, it was just like, I think the importance of remembering that we can become very disconnected with our face coverings and our social distancing, and keeping that importance of customer service and really kind of going above and beyond, and making things happen for people to do good and spread love.
Beautiful.
That's so nice.
Yeah, that's really great.
I would say from a product trend perspective, we could not sell a small coffee cup. Like we couldn't sell a big enough coffee cup. Also, like people were buying our 20-ounce beer steins for coffee. Like our small coffee mugs sat on the shelf. It was just fascinating. We're looking at historical patterns versus this year. And in pottery, the business is mugs and bowls, but that was even more the case, and bigger was better.
Nice. Well, that's perfect. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Thanks to you three for joining us, Allison, Jamie, and Wendy, and obviously Wendy Diltz for that really awesome presentation. It's been a great day of talks. I know a lot of people have been sitting with us all day, so I appreciate all your time and attention. And we hope you can join us tomorrow morning. We'll be back at 9:30 with another presentation from Wendy Batten. So check out the Craft Alliance website to register for that. Check out our marketplace and register your profile so that you can start browsing products from all these great vendors. And we've got a buyer promotion going on, so order now, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.